Hey. You. Hi there. It's 4:19. Do you have a minute? Good. Then let's pack a bowl. 'Cause it's time for Cannabis Talk, a special 420 themed segment of the Almost Daily ZenCast, hosted by spiritual cannabis mystic, the incorrigible Mr. Zappa. Let's get lit, folks.
And you know how the rest of that goes. Hello, friends. Namaste and welcome to, with a little bit of different music in the background to shake it up, Cannabis Talk, the special segment of the Almost Daily ZenCast, home of Good Morning Trumptopia, hosted by me, myself, and I, the incorrigible Mr. Zappo. Thanks for tuning in. That was a bit of my old intro and the new intro style all jammed together. Happy Friday. Thank God, right? Whatever deity, God, goddess, being of light, Mother Earth, whatever thing you believe in, whatever, I guess I'm trying to figure out a way to be inclusive of those who are self-described as agnostic or atheist, because then what would they like anchor this in giving an absence, whatever book you want me to swear on, as the saying goes. Let us be grateful, right? That's what my point is. Sorry. I had to drink a sip from my protein shake, and I forgot how delightfully not like soda or coffee it is. So, huzzah. Here we are. All of us surviving the near dystopian onset of what arguably some people think might be the realest feeling take on the end of the world we've ever lived through in real life. I cynically prefer to phrase like, here I am just surviving yet another end of the world, one of many, because we, constantly keep devising ways to end our worlds on many levels. And I am one, for those of you who do not know, to affirm that I think, not so much believe, and if you are curious about that distinction, you can hang on, buckle your seatbelts, and dig around in my episodes, because somewhere in there, on a couple of different occasions, I ramble on about belief and why I'm particular about the use of that word. But for now, we're going to put a pin in it. Might come around, do an episode in the future about it, so that it all full circles for everybody. But I think that I've completely derailed myself. What was I talking about? That it's happy 420. Something about stuff and things in the world going on. And I was talking about being grateful to God how to be inclusive to atheists and secularists and doubters and non-believers. And protein shakes. Yum. Okay, so, and cannabis and meditation. And here we all are. Oh, right. The sentence. Here we all are, surviving yet another attempt at the end of the world. Or another sort of like thrilling, close to the cliff edge swerve towards the end of the world. Or as some might phrase it, another staggering, shuddering, gear-snapping, grinding adjustment as we slide into the very laborious, slow grinding to the halt of the world. Grinding to a halt of the world. Because that's what it feels like. But, who knows? Maybe it'll all be magically great again soon. How are you holding up? I posit to you, dear listeners, I humbly invite you to join the community of conversation on the page for the Incorrigible Mr. Zappo or for the Almost Daily ZenCast on Facebook. Or you can follow him on Instagram and just help, jump in there and share your thoughts. Help the engagement engage. Because as we adjust to whatever this new norm is, for however temporary period of time we hope it might wind up being, we have to prepare to engage our creative endeavors and reinvestigate our situations and our relationships to the overarching system of systems that we call very casually our society. Yes or no? Debate amongst yourselves. Share with me. Post them at me. The more it grows, and try to see if you can find subjects and stick on it. One of the things I want to do is go back in time with my time machine called sound editing. And while this has always been performance art, right? Kind of play acting at being an entertainment modality, as though I were an individual that ran a pirate radio station and could have guests and stuff on and collaborators. But obviously, it's just me. And a few people have expressed interest, but it's difficult because, they don't have the thing. The people that have expressed the most interest are generally either disinformed, not well informed in, or don't have the tools to teleconference, or are intimidated by it for some reason, because they always seem to decline. They want to, people ask me, and this is real, and I'm not trying to bag on anybody. I'm not trying to dismiss or be rude at anybody. I'm just sharing this as anecdote. I'm not calling anybody out. Because those conversations all ended well. We had a good chit-chat about it. But I've been asked many a time on one of the many sort of social networking, kind of biz networking apps that you could, one of them in particular that I find kind of particularly interesting and weird. But I digress. It's not about the app. It's about the way that people have addressed me. They're like, "Hey man, I'd really love to be on your show. When can I be there?" And I'm like, "Be there?" And I always kind of ask, like, "Be there? What do you mean, be there?" And they're like, "Well, when can I go there?" People phrase it like, "Where is this located? Like, is it a thing I can go to and sit with you in a sound booth? And do you have a recording studio? Basically, do you have a recording studio?" Which is, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not judging. It's just interesting the way people communicate, right? And I'm like, I do this in my home, and I'm one of those people. I wish I'd written it first, Social distancing, welcome to the club. Ooh, well, it's too late now. The moment's already passed. But I'm one of those people that's like, if I can make an excuse to go world build in my imagination in my room by myself, or meditate in my room by myself, or all the myriad of things, distractions or not distractions, that read deep, important philosophical books, quote unquote research on the internet, which I kind of say a little bit mockingly because I think the internet's only a good place to start, and then actually, if you're going to call it research, then you really should be doing it the way researchers do it, which is calling witnesses. For example, if I may go on a sidebar here, because I got into this debate once, other thing, not about the studios. I don't have a recording studio. As awesome as it would seem, I'm not inviting people to my home. Not at this time, especially not at this time. Although, we could have a long discussion about what I think is going on and what I think coronavirus, quote unquote, really is. If you're new and you're curious, you should really check out Pick a Lane. It's an episode where I kind of get into it. And I might come back around and do another episode in the future, a little bit more recap and further, because things keep adding to the list. But that's a whole nother sidebar. How many sidebars am I in? So, not the studio thing, but the other thing that I wanted to... happy 420, everybody. Oh, no, it's not quite there yet. It's 4:15. I've been, warming it up. Which is, of course, makes me loopy. The Pick a Lane episode is really worth a listen to. If you're just like landing on this episode as the first episode, so I heard something about this show, or I saw a promo, I'm gonna listen. Pick a lane. Click on that one next. And then jump around. Season 1 is designed to feel like you start where you end and end where you begin. So it doesn't matter which way you click on it. If you want to go all the way to the, quote, first episode and start listening from there through to the end, kudos to you. If you want to hop around, fabulous. If you want to listen to it from the most recent episode to the oldest, well, you might not get there in a while, but go ahead. Season 2 is a little bit more abstract because I didn't pick a structure yet. Just like I hadn't with season 1 until I did, and then I did it. And then, updrafted it to what it is. I might do a little bit more of a polish updraft on season 1, but I'm really going to focus on cleaning up season 2 in a hot minute. Now that we're actually here. I've said that before. I've been teasing it for months, days, years, weeks. Some days I can't tell. But eventually it'll happen. And this sentence will have magically disappeared. Well, actually, no, I'll probably just leave this here as an outtake. And some sort of like from the archives B-roll. But I digress. Digressing. Welcome to Friday, March 27th. I forget. I have no idea what day of the 15-day protocol we are at. And that's the thing I should probably Google. I should probably ask the interwebs, hey, I don't want to actually say that phrase because I don't use that particular app. And then when I do say it, sometimes my phone hears it. And then I'm like, no, I don't want to use, I don't want to actually use that. I don't want to talk that way. Or maybe I should. I don't know. But what was I going to ask? Origins of Friday the 13th. That's the first thing that came out because I accidentally hit the letter O. 15-day Let's see what comes up. I just typed in 15-day protocol. Wow. A key hit the word protocol and dug up a bunch of things that don't actually... Let's go. National Boyfriend Day is Saturday, October 3rd, 2020. Thanks, interwebs. Thanks, search engine company whose name I don't want to use too often because I don't want them to sue me, for telling me that. I didn't know that Saturday is October 3rd. Is 2020? No. Saturday, October 3rd, 2020 is Boyfriend Day, which is adorable. There's also a National Couples Day, National Day Calendar. That's a different thing. Not National Compliment Day. That's cool. National Emergency. How funny. I'd never noticed the report inappropriate predictions button or tiny itty bitty link over here, but they're always up. Everything on the internet is constantly being tweaked, and it sometimes drives me a little batty. Okay, so these are not very useful. National emergency. There's a ProPublica article talking about how two-faced Trump is about this whole thing. There's a... oh, here we go. I just missed it earlier. The WhiteHouse.gov proclamation on declaring a national emergency concerning. This is from March 13th. So this might give us an indication. I don't remember. If they said an end date... I don't remember what it was right now. It's 4:20 time. I really did seriously smoke along with the opening sequence today, so it's like just hitting me now. The other thing that I found was not particularly useful. How long should I stay in home isolation if I have the coronavirus disease? I mean, that's great that it's up there. And that information is like one of the, like the, it's here under a COVID-19 alert, common questions thing on the search page. And that's great. But what do we do? How come there isn't one for how long should we stay in if we don't have the virus and we're not sure what the bloody hell the government's actually doing? That's a good question. Like, just like a safe, sane, what is actually reasonable, safe period of time for the entire nation to have self-quarantine, and then for those who still feel healthy and never felt like they ever got sick to start returning, if they're never going to test us all, right? If they're not going to make tests readily available at CVS like they do those free, what do you call those? You stick your arm in the thing and it gives you the pressure cuff and it reads your blood pressure. It's a blood pressure machine, duh. Like, they should make testing for COVID-19, if it's really real and it's really this big of an emergency, that easy, that ready. And maybe, they should just make a free-ass diagnostic station that can diagnose fundamental things without taking, a painful, gnarly tissue sample or something, right? Some sort of basic... put your face in here, look into the thing, have your eyes taken a picture of, your ears sort of looked at with little cameras, and a gentle swabbing of the sort of places they need to swab by an expert. That would be a gross machine, wouldn't it? That's why they haven't made one. That no one's ever thought of it yet. Am I the first? There's a stoner moment question. Dude, am I the first person to ever think of this idea? Like, what if there was a medical diagnostic photo booth, super sanitary, Like, you know how they have bathrooms that you pay the whatever fee, it's like $2 or $3 or something. You go in and you use the facilities which have just been cleaned, right? Like literally before you came in, it had just auto cleaned and like sprayed everything down. What if there were bathrooms like that everywhere? And then also, separate from, but in the same sort of modality, in such a way that it's a room that can sort of just like push, spray down everything, where you just got a body scan, right? Like it just body scanned you, gently swabbed you, checked your eyeballs, did whatever future science, like not evil agenda, like it's just basic, real, validated, verifiable. It's not pumping you full of microbots that are going to take over your brain and make you think that, evil things or monsters or whatever the fuck the nanobots are supposed to do to your brain. There's like too many different theories. Here's the thing. Whenever there's a theory about something, okay, interesting. I'll be open-minded. Give me the evidence. But if there's 15 versions of the same theory, all with completely different rationales as to why, then I'm like, I think someone just wants this arguing and running around like chickens with their heads cut off, afraid of something that's impossible to prove. Maybe. Just a thought. But I digress. But in the uplifting, this is for like, this is like the way technology and robots and like automation and AI could be like in a benevolent, we've all healed and are healing. It's like the Insta Medcare booth, diagnostic booth. Maybe this is in hospitals and not just on street corners next to the sanitary daily wash, every time wash, public urinals. But maybe it is. I don't know. But of course, I instantly see all the ways it would be conspiracy theory fodder. And also, I don't know that there would be an actual way to accurately and fairly be able to, without a person, there probably is. With the advances that, barring that we actually totally implode, God forbid, knock on wood, that was actually technically plastic. Knock on IKEA wood. This one's wood. That one's actually, I believe, actual, like Swedish-made wood paneling that's like a little cool minimalist like desk stand for monitors from like way back in the day. I've had this my whole life, that little hutchy, whatever you call it. It's not a hutch. It's just like a monitor stand. It's probably too tall for me in the way this is set up, but I like it. My keyboard's too big, so it doesn't fit. But I'm just all over the place right now. Knock on wood. Why was I knocking on wood? Because, conspiracy theories, etc., etc. I don't know. Would it be? It's a science fiction thing. I'm going to put it in the science fiction piece because I may very well be the first person to think of it. And just fully diagnoses, whatever reasonable collection of diagnostic things can be done on a person as least intrusively as possible, in a sanitary environment that's kept sanitary and clean, so that it itself cannot possibly become a vector or nexus of disease vectors, right? Because if you stop and think about it, before all this COVID-19 madness, especially, and the hype around it really kicked off, there was already an ongoing, very sort of not age-old, well, yeah, because it's always been the problem, right? This problem and this discussion of how to survive or overcome the problem of the fact that these institutions of trying to make improve people's wellness, make people as whole and as healthy as possible in as industrious and profitable a way as possible, are not unknown to occasionally become themselves notoriously lethal hotbeds of infectious disease and of remember the superbug problem? What was that? Like, why do I have psoriatic arthritis in my head? Not that. Sepsis. Was it sepsis? There was some sort of like super sepsis, if that's the right word. That might be the wrong word. Forgive me. But there's that weird septic shock kind of disease. Your body's just all jacked up and there's otherwise nothing really wrong with you. But it's because internal things are all wonky and you've caught this, and you were receptive to this thing that kind of just thrives in environments like hospitals, despite the fact that hospitals are over-sanitized places. They're constantly cleaning. Everything's, either cleaned or disposable. Which in and of itself, the more like, would automation and AI-driven, doctor bots of delicate agility in its whatever robot-like appendages, and a sort of, like self-purging sanitation cycle, self-cleaning sort of, auto rinse with new high-end sci-fi sanitation germ-killing technology. We kind of probably would want that on every street corner and for free, wouldn't we? So that because where does disease spread the most wildly and unchecked and cause the most damage, regardless of which disease you're talking about? It's amongst the lowest of the low and the poorest of the poor. Those who indeed, Yeshua Christos said, what ye have done unto the least of your brethren, you have done unto me. Himself, the Christ, right? The Christos, and I, from my perspective, and this is where I think I lose people, because people sometimes hear or catch some catchphrases in something that I might comment on, and reading along, because you see each other's comments and stuff when you're following other people's stuff, and then you go, oh, that person's interesting, and you kind of go and maybe check them out, and they're like, whoa, because they don't get that I'm like, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater type of Christian, not a Christian. Most Christians would probably, after a full discussion of where I would challenge their dogma with my esoteric renditions and interpretations, they might want to kick me right out as heresy. I have been called a heretic to my face for having dared to posit the notion, some of these notions in public. That's heretical. You are a heretic. It was done jokingly, I think, but also out of like concern, not like jokingly like fuck the system, they're crazy, more like that could actually be sort of bad if you really, really believe in that belief religion kind of way about what you just said. I'm like, just saying it, haha, whatever. Interesting, thought-provoking, but do you believe in that? I'm like, that's where we get into this catch-22. And we come full circle to something I was just talking about earlier, right? Like belief, it's an interesting area. And you got to be, regardless of what you think is going on with the mechanics behind the operation of that word in reality, you got to be careful what you choose to engage in with that action, right? Because it's like, careful what you ask for. Careful what you ask for. And it isn't until you ask for something and then you get exactly that, and it's in somehow, without it being anything but exactly what you asked for, all horribly wrong, and like, oh my God, I wish this was not happening, and there's no way to take it back now. It's begun. It is unleashed. Until you've experienced that in real life, you're living in a sort of, and I hate to use this word because I don't want to get accused of being judgy and judgmental and shallow rather, and rude, and Rush. I'm not Rush. I am not Rush the band. Stop accusing me of being Rush the band. I don't know how that happened, but apparently it has, and I gotta make that a part of the thing. Rush the band reemerges as pretend imaginary literary DJ that spins electronic loop music from the internet into new loop music on the internet. What? Hold on. Let's reel it back. What do we want to talk about now? Right. Let's be gratitude. Let's come back to that. I opened the show with a little bit of gratitude. I want to talk about a little bit of gratitude. I saw... I should not go too far onto too many tangents. I've already been rambling for half an hour. I saw the wildest things recently, as I have been forced to conduct some vital and very necessary business in my real life outside of my podcast world, because despite some aspiring musicians' hopes of having found the wild and kooky guy that's going to discover them, I'd love to be. I'm not. I mean, I'm happy to feature musicians' music on my show. And there's been one musician that's given me permission to, but then they asked me if I wanted their backstory, and I said, yes, please, send me whatever you want me to read off about you. Please. I'll wait. And then they never sent anything, so I haven't played their music yet. No offense. I don't know if she's listening, but her music is awesome, by the way. Wait, hold on, maybe I do. Let me dig up, since I brought it up. I might as well. Oh, it's off. You know what? I'm going to leave you wondering in suspense, and I'll pretend that it's a ploy to get you to listen to a couple more episodes, because I know I just talked about her not too long ago. So, something to dig deep and binge into. But if you're here, welcoming me into your ear holes now, as sort of like I got nothing better else to do, and I'm still stuck, and I'm okay. I'm not too stressed by things right now. I'm still working from home, but man, working from home gets boring, and there's not a lot of work to do, and yada yada. I need something to binge listen to on my free time and on my breaks, and to take my mind off of stuff, or as part of a rotation of things, because that's really what people do. They rotate, right? They like a little news in the morning and a little bit of action adventure right after dinner, and maybe other things at lunch. When you're stuck at home, you might want to listen to a little daytime radio, check in with the news more than once, that kind of stuff. Well, I humbly thank you for choosing me as someone to tune into, to kind of catch one dude's perspective on what's been going on. And go back all the way to the beginning and hop around and check in, because it all relates to what's been building up to it. And if you need a break from specifically coronavirus stuff, it's a little bit of retro mini nostalgia to just everything that was just going on politically and socially, with a weird, out of the ordinary, esoterically spiritual, lowercase on all senses, not, how they say little d, not capital D for democracy, like, the social contract, not the party. Yeah. I don't belong to any one religion. Actually, I belong to two religions technically, so I shouldn't make myself a liar. I belong to two internet religions, and I like to bring them up and occasionally just self-disclose them because they're funny, and also I don't want to be called a liar, quite literally. And, I think it's fair for context. Universal Life Church and Latter-day Dudism, which is, of course, Universal Life Church is a sort of generic, joke, mock the system about how much it takes to become a church. Church, I think, but maybe they're real too. They're up there to me in my mind, and maybe I need to reassess, but they're up there like the spaghetti monster religion, right? You all familiar with that by now. I think I've talked about it before. Apologies for the redundancies. So, as I wind things up for today's little cannabis spirally out of control mind journey through too many ideas all at once in 35 minutes or less, I'm gonna make this assertion at you. I have achieved a certain level of personal, real life, private business things and unlocking of achievements and fulfillment of certain responsibilities. And I am now, for the next 3 weeks, I think, essentially kind of stuck not doing anything, even if well, that's not true. If there was no COVID-19, I'd probably have some work in about a week and a half from now, as the way things swing through the season. But since there is COVID-19, who knows how long it'll take before we're all, let back into the swing of things. And theater's one of those, because it's a lot of people, always, and it's always been sort of like a germaphobe's worst nightmare. Germaphobes who are really, really like crippled, and I don't mean disrespectfully. I've known some people that are just really, really like they can't handle certain parameters of public life, and sitting in a theater with more than 300 people in it. It's like, for me, like I really kind of can't cope with being in an airplane. Drives me a little bonkers, right? I'm just shy of like rejecting flight and begging to be allowed to take a train everywhere, which quite frankly, I'd be a lot more comfortable with. But I don't know. Maybe that's a horrible idea. I digress. So, given that I won't have very many places to go or very much to do, and that I think the whole emergency raid shopping has sort of begun to mellow out, because lo and behold, not in every places, but in most places, I've seen small quantities of paper goods back on the shelves. Huzzah, hallelujah. Shame on you for hoarding, especially if you tried to profiteer on it, because I don't know if anyone's told you, profiteering is really up there, close to being to the problem. Not quite the problem, but really close to actually being the root of all evil. Which is the thing I just saw recently. Someone posted the question, or a meme of someone asking the question, if money is the root of all evil, why does the church always ask for it? Or some wording along those lines. I would have phrased it, if money is the root of all evil, why does every organized religion beg you or require you to give them so much of it? But I digress. I don't mean to get snarky and rude about organized religion. There's a whole episode we could do right there about my personal viewpoint on the problem with and the solution to what the problem with religion is, right? Because I think, as many other philosophers and thinkers and public speakers have said, is that there's too many things going on with organized religion the way it is now, and there's one level of what's going on there that's being disrespected through neglect and or distraction from, and that's the actual set of healing spiritual practices that are at the root of all religions, and that all religions share a common root in spiritual practices that predate the institutional churches as we know them now, right? For example, one of the things I think I've woven throughout the series is the simple notion that the person that we indicate with the title Jesus Christ, which really should be reverted more accurately back to Yeshua Christos, for the sake of understanding that it isn't it isn't like a name, right? It isn't first name, last name, Jesus Christ, the way we think of it sometimes, or the way some people I have in the past understood that that's the way I could, should, would, might think of it, despite it also being a derivative in English of, an ancient Aramaic, I believe, pair of titles, spiritual, sacred labels. So, yeah. How did I get to that point? I don't remember. And it's now 40 minutes and almost 40 seconds long. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up with that, folks, and say thank you for tuning in. Hang tight, right? Because the next few weeks gonna really shake it up. Because I'm committed. I'm just gonna camp out, eat healthy, purge, and really finish refeng shuiing my entire homestead, and embrace myself for the end of global shutdown 2020, and podcast my way into celebritydom through it. So join me. We're building a movement about bringing thoughtful, conscious, meditation anchored, contemplative approach to solutions, right? Instead of just fighting about the problems, because we've been fighting about problems for millennia. Let's actually just solve the solutions. And with that, dear friends, I'm gonna let you listen to the rest of this wacky and ridiculous electronic loop track of looping that I looped just now, that you just heard me ramble through the first half. I'm going to shut the hell up and let you listen to the second half. And it's called, I'm going to ease it in, it's called Cosmic Electro 101, the first track in space from my fictional album collection called DJZ The Early Years, Volume 1. Please enjoy. And tune in over the next 3 weeks for a radically altered and completely different approach to how I do the almost... Oh, I have not been tuning in the music. There it goes. Now I'm sliding the slider bar. Sorry, the little touchpad thing. Sometimes it's a little hard to control with finesse because your own finger blocks the view. Until next time, friends, remember, kindness counts now the most, the hardest. Be good, be groovy, and stay healthy.